Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the podcast. This is Two Catholic Dudes, and my name is Ryan Klaus.
My name is Danny Cleary.
And as always, we're not priests, we're not theologians, we're just two Catholic dudes, and we're talking about our faith.
And today is going to be a completely different style of podcast than you are used to because we want to stay relevant to what's going on in the world and try to be helpful to people in the best way that we can. And, with everything that's going on, Ryan and I our speciality is being kind of in the forefront of bringing the faith through technology and through the internet and media, kind of a style of ministry here with Mass and all kinds of different ministries. So Ryan and I were just going to kind of do a breakdown of the things that we're doing for our parishes and for our ministry to see if it can be helpful to anyone that is in that realm, or anyone that is struggling to get started on anything like that. We want to be a resource to you. So that's what this podcast is going to be. If you're interested in anything technical and all that stuff, you're going to have a great time. Working
title of this episode, Mass Production.
Nice.
Because, all right, we're all about, like Danny just said, about getting our hands dirty, getting in it, doing the work. There's so many videos out there about just, you got talking heads just saying, oh, the church would be better if this, and the church is bad because of this, and so on and so forth. But we're like, okay, they can debate all they want, but we're just going to go out there and do it, right?
Yeah.
So right now is a time in our church where we just it's a time we have to change. We're forced to change, and we're forced to adapt all these new media tools that we have at our fingertips, but the way that we're going to be able to draw people in is through production value, really. Because the thing about the fact that we're all on social media right now is that everyone is fighting for the same media time and everyone's phones and devices, and there's just so much out there. It's like, how do you get anyone's attention? You got to step up to the next level. And the thing is, before we talk about tips and tricks, it's like, if you only have an iPhone or if you only have a smartphone of some sort, like, that could be enough to get started. You got to start somewhere. You can't aim for perfect.
Right.
Being done is better than perfect. So just do it. Get out there, and whatever you have available to you, start creating. Start producing, start giving value to your churches, to your parishes. But that's not enough. You want to always continue to grow, continue to strive to be better and up that production value, because, it's great where two or three are gathered. And if, two people are watching your live Mass, that's amazing, wonderful. But what if you can get that number to 200, 2,000, 20,000?
Right.
And if there's 10,000 churches out there all just doing from their iPhone, if you're the one church that's doing some sort of bigger production, it's going to be easier to draw eyes over to you. Not that I'm going on a tangent. So,
well, here's the thing: is that there's a way to bring high quality content even if you're on a budget, and there's a way to, if you have the means in which to have a high quality level of recording and sound and all that stuff. Awesome, that's amazing. Use those tools that you have and the ability that people have. But the other thing we want to talk about today is, if you are on that side of where I only have my iPhone or I don't really know how to do anything at all, how can you be in the game of online Mass and online ministry right now?
So you got the budget option, and then the intermediate option, and the high quality option, right? So
yeah, so we'll kind of hit all of those today.
And as true two Catholic dudes fashion, I can't talk today. Two Catholic dudes fashion. We did not take any notes or prepare any ideas. We're just winging this, but we'll get through it. So thanks for riding along as always.
Over here.
Do you?
Of course not.
Oh man.
So let's start on the. I think honestly for this we should start on the high end and go down, because I think the majority of people are honestly on the lower end. So we can let's get through the high end first.
So you got to stay tuned for all you that are looking for tips for how to get good video with your iPhone.
Let me just fast forward.
We'll put timestamps for if you don't want to spend $10,000 on gear.
So for instance, but there's pros and cons to both, because I know a couple parishes that have a really high caliber of recording setup, and there's negatives to both that we've talked about quite a bit. So, anyway, so what is your setup currently?
Let me preface it. Let me preface this.
Okay.
This is an unprecedented time in our church, our church history. And I'm sure every single Catholic church and parish is struggling right now financially. There's whether or not you're a super wealthy church or you're a low income church, everyone's taking a hit and everyone's struggling. My church that I work at is a little bit more well off, but like we're still struggling big time. I think our giving was at like 17% of normal weekends. Whoa. During all this. That's pretty bad, right? But I was talking with my pastor the other day, and we seem to be on the same page that during these times, you got to take an offensive stance. You have to do so. If you start just playing defense and just laying people off and saying, "Oh, we can't afford this, we can't afford that." Oh, buying a camera to get the production value up, we couldn't do that because we're already losing money. But like, if you're gonna just play defense, you're shooting yourself in the foot. So sometimes you have to spend money. You have to put money in and invest it in that church to be able to get people back when this is all through, right? So we're trying to take an offensive stance, and he knows that it's going to be pretty expensive to buy all this gear, but he's willing to do that because he knows it's important in these times. Okay. Because we might have a full episode on what the future of the church will be after all this is done, but we're looking at the reality that when the church doors are reopened, that we're not going to be able to have 600 people sit in the pews. Sure. And 600 people won't want to sit next to each other. They'll be scared to. So if we can only let 50 people in the church, what can we do to still provide mass for people? So we are already live streaming. Why don't we step up production, and people could be in the parking lot in their cars. They can be on the lawn. They can be standing outside, and they can be streaming it from their devices, and then we can have some sort of communion service possibly. That's just where our heads are at right now. But it's like we got to step above our cell phones if we're going to get to that level. That's just where our particular church is at. But so on that vein, right now we're still doing the cell phone stuff because here's the deal. To get the high production stuff, you have to get what's called a capture card to be able to stream live video from your DSLR camera or DSLM or whatever high quality camera. It has to go to this device, which then goes to your computer, and then you can run an app that kind of hubs it all together, and you send it live stream to Facebook or YouTube or wherever you're streaming.
It's the same kind of technology that people use that are like gaming content, people that stream Twitch. Their video games, Twitch, things like that. It's the same kind of the deal, but the problem is these things are sold out like all over the country.
Yeah.
Because like, every church, every business, everything that had the same mindset that kind of foresaw this coming bought as many as possible for all the different cameras that they had.
So they're like back ordered for over a month, plus with the Amazon delays and everything, it's not likely to get one anytime soon unless somebody already has one. So that's the issue that we're currently running into because I have the high quality camera. Other people are willing to donate or at least let us borrow so we can create better, like 2 camera shoots or whatever, but we don't have that capture card to make it work. So we're making do right now. But so I'll tell you what we're going to, and I can tell you what I've been watching St. Monica's in Santa Monica. They were live streaming before anyone else was live streaming. They've been doing it for years, so they've had time to figure everything out.
They're like old pros.
And so, but now they're like stepping above that. What can they do? So I'll tell you, this is like the high end solution when you have already stuff in place and you have a huge budget. They not only live stream their mass with a like 4 camera shoot. They have like 2 cameras from the back of the church forward. They have one on the side, and then they have one behind for the musicians. Now there's no musicians there, but what they've been doing is having their music directors record songs at home, send it to all their choir members, and they do like a virtual choir situation. And then they have a big screen monitor next to the altar that is on camera, and the priest can see it, and they'll play back all the songs that everyone did at their homes for the live mass that's going on.
Wow.
It's wild.
Yeah, that's some next level stuff.
And they have like a stage director on the side helping the priest or the pastor know when to do stuff.
That's something that we need to talk about too, is like what are the new kind of roles that need to be taken in to do these different these different things that I think that's what people need the help the most with. But we'll get to that point. But so going back to gear, they got a 4-camera shoot, obviously 4 capture cards, 4 different angles. Are they doing live cuts?
Yeah, so they have at least 2 or 3 laptops backstage where somebody is they're changing cameras. When one camera's on, they're moving. The cameras are not only up, mounted on the ceilings, but they're robotic, so you can turn them and focus them from a computer.
Zoom control.
Correct.
Wow.
So they can change where, if they need to zoom in on the ambo or zoom in on some action that's on the altar, whatever they need to do, while one camera is, live, the other camera can be adjusting into place, and then they swap over to the other one. So that helps a ton. Obviously you have to have somebody man that station, which is one of those roles you're talking about. Right. But that helps, if I had to do a 2-camera shoot right now, I would have to take all the footage home and edit it and spend time deciding which camera, and it would take hours to layer those 2 cameras together.
And then you lose the live element, obviously.
You lose the live element, right? So, so figuring out, I still have to we're like, let's give you all these tips, and we're like, I don't even know how to do it yet. But we want to learn during this time, and this is the live streaming thing is something that I haven't dived into, but this is the time. This is the time to learn and help your church grow here's a big point I'll make is at my church there doesn't seem to be anybody else that knows how to do this stuff. And I don't really, but I am the best hope that they have. And so it's like, I said this every other podcast, but it's if not me, then who? Right. So it's my duty really to step up and learn that for the parish.
Well, here's the thing I'm in the same boat, and I know less than you, but when it comes down to this is if someone isn't going to step up, and we're going to talk about it when we get down to there's a couple really key things I think you need if you're going to make this work. But it's having somebody that's willing to spearhead these projects is what you need. And maybe if you're listening, maybe that's you and you don't know it yet, and you need to go, or you're watching your live stream mass of your parish and you're like, man, this is the worst, or man, this could be improved, and you have the means in which to do so. I'm calling you right now. Step up, go help, go volunteer your time. You have a camera that's high quality. You have a capture card that you have had for a while. Go and offer your time, talents, and gear to help your parish if you want to be able to bring that up. That's the biggest thing is if churches can't afford, say, to buy 4 cameras, but 2 parishioners happen to have 2 cameras, then there you go. And one of them happens to be in the world of knowing how to do that kind of a setup, then there you go. You're off to the races just by the generosity of time and talent of the faithful. So if you are in that boat, step up.
Yeah. And we said it last podcast is the people that we're going to be calling on right now are these Gen Zers. They're the millennials like us, but even more so the Gen Zers that are a master of social media, because the church has moved into that realm right now for the foreseeable future and the possible future. We might have some marrying of the two, but you're okay, I don't have a camera, I don't have a capture card, I don't have but it's how to you've mastered social media, so come in and offer your services, because marketing the videos that you create on this digital platform is huge. If you just put content out and hope that people watch it, you are sorely mistaken, because people don't know where to find it. People don't know how it's going to come into their homes, especially the older population. They're where do I look? What the Facebooks? What is this? But if you can help create a way, an avenue for them to view and obtain your content, why not step forward and make that happen?
Yeah, exactly. I think that this is the time where saints of the new age are going to be made during this time, because it is a calling for a lot of us to kind of bring our talents to the forefront of the church, and the church is in need. Right. And we talk about struggles and different things about where is God in all these situations. I think that in this time, this crisis, that God is saying all those people that we feel have fallen away from the church, right? The 18 to 33-year-old people that are falling away. This is our time. We have to kind of step up and help out where we can.
Exactly.
And even if it's as simple as we'll step out of the production conversation just for a moment. Even if, as Ryan was saying, if you're really great at social media, maybe you're really savvy at Instagram posting or photo editing or whatever it may be, volunteer to be that person, you know? Or if you're good at website design, step up in that way, because every single thing that the lifeblood of your parish at this point is online. I guarantee it. Either that or it's either stagnant or it's online.
Yeah. Exactly. So like I went the other day and took photos for my church because there wasn't anything updated in a long time on the Facebook page, on the website.
Right.
And I just snapped, artsy photos all over the place. But like you said, if there was something that was amazing at Photoshop or Lightroom, I know how to do that stuff, but I have 18 different duties
projects,
and jobs
right,
all over the projects. And so I brought it home and I edited all the pictures in Lightroom and put it up. But if somebody was like, hey, I don't know how to take pictures, but I can edit them. So like if you can take them, send them to me, I'll edit them, send them back. Like this is the time to pool your resources together and get all those creatives to help out, because they might not know what to do, but it's like reach out and say, hey, I know how to do a few things. Use me however you want.
Absolutely. And then the other big thing that I'll say is, of all this stuff that we're talking about, we were talking about we have that level of the high quality. So you have a multi-camera shoot, and that's great, amazing. And for some people, it's just cell phones and live stream that way. And even on the cell phone level, there's different levels of people that are doing that, because some people it's just they set it up and they sit there, and that's the end of it, right? But for some people, it's like I move the camera around the whole mass, mm-hmm, because I think that it's important for that. So there's different, you have to kind of watch other people and bring what you think would look best for your particular situation, and
that's a good point.
It works,
That's a good point. In any field, you want to learn from the best, and you want to take little things that they do and you want to create your own. If I'm learning music, if I tried to learn music in an isolated box and never learn any other artist, because I'd be like, oh no, I don't want to learn Bach or Mozart or Beethoven because I don't want to sound like them. And then you're like, if you're a rock guitarist, so I don't want to have to learn Jimi Hendrix or Led Zeppelin, because then I'm just going to be a copy of Led Zeppelin and Jimi Hendrix. But it's precisely the opposite. It's the way I found my voice in music was I played all those classical pieces. I was a rock guitarist. I was a heavy metal guitarist for years. That's how I learned how to play guitar. And then I was into like jazz and blues and soft rock and alternative rock and an emo stage and a pop punk thing. And I just learned song after song after song from the greatest artists out there, arguably the greatest artists. But when you combine all of those things into one, you create your own voice, your own identity as an artist or as a creative or in whatever field you are trying to obtain greatness in. So if you're trying to step up your production game in your church, find the churches that are doing an amazing job.
Yes.
Go watch St. Monica's live stream. I know
Word
it's
on fire.
I know it's pretty liberal, but like if you guys are leaning to the right, but in terms of production, it is on point. Word on Fire. I think I heard Spirit Juice Studios does a great one.
Just watch at the cathedral at the Archdiocese of Los Angeles. They have a very high quality shoot as well.
Ooh, I'll give a shout out to my buddy Frederick Goltz from New Jersey, Sacred Heart in Rochester, New Jersey. They do amazing video production every single week. He puts his heart and soul into it. The music is phenomenal.
Awesome.
So their stuff's online. Sacred Heart in, I think, Rochester, I'm pretty sure, New Jersey. So cool. Learn from the best and try to find all the things that they're doing that you could implement into what you do.
Yeah.
Okay. So
absolutely.
Let's get into just a little bit of technical details. Like if you are trying to get to the next level and you want to get above the cell phone, because we said this was the higher tier. So what kind of cameras do you need, or camera? You could just start with one. You don't need like a big giant thing nowadays, like a camcorder.
Right.
Those you don't have to have that. And it's actually overkill. It's probably not even as good these days. So you can literally just get, like, for instance, I shoot on a Sony A7 III. Okay. That's probably overkill too if you're going to live stream, because right now I'm shooting this in 4K video, which is really overkill. Everyone, all my filmmaker buddies that I talk to, they're like, "Why are you shooting in 4K and wasting your time?" I'm like, "Oh, because I can," and it's like that little better quality.
Sure.
But they're like, when you put it on YouTube, it bounces it compresses it down anyways. So, but I'm like, if I have it, I'm gonna shoot it on that. So, anyways, that body of it is like $1,800, and then you have to buy the lenses and stuff, and it adds up. So, I mean, it's about a $4,000 investment if you want to get all the gear for that. You're talking tripods, extra batteries, the lenses,
microphone.
So yeah, I want to get to the microphone, but the camera. So you got your Sony. Those are kind of the new. It's the new player in the field. They make DSLMs, so they're mirrorless cameras. That's like the new thing. But before that, like Canon was the king, and it's still is huge. Canon and Nikon, those are the other two. But you can find like, I don't know. I think the Canon I series or the i9 or the i8 or something like that. I forget what it's called. But those are like $800. You can get one for like $800.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say I have the lower end Nikon. I have like a D3200, and like it's like a $700 camera, and it would do the job just fine.
Exactly. So like the D series from the Nikons, it's the TIs. The TI series from the Canons. Those are wonderful cameras to start on. That's the first camera that I started on, and they're in the ballpark of like $800. That's not a huge hit. You pay for a lens out the door. You're looking at like, I don't know, $1,500 if you get a really good lens, because you can have the greatest camera body in the world, but if you have a bad lens, it's not going to be great. So you want to spend some money on some quality glass to put on that. In terms of lenses, it could vary. You could get a wide shot with like a 10 to 18 millimeter range, or you can get a tighter shot with a 50 or an 85, or even a big zoom like 120 or something like that. So lenses can vary, but that's really kind of the gear you'll need is, from a consumer, lower grade consumer camera, Nikon, Canon, or Sony, or there's obviously other ones, up to you can buy some of the pro grade stuff. Like again, mine out the door like $4,000, something like that. But then when you're starting to ramp up to multi-camera shoots, then it really starts to add up.
And so what I was going to say too is, so say you're shooting on say you have one camera. So you've ponied up the money, you bought one nice camera, right?
Okay.
And you want to use that camera to shoot mass. Let's talk about where your shot is going to be just for a moment.
So composition of shot. That's the technical term there.
Yeah, we're talking about the zooms and all the different things, like how, because I think it's different for every church, because there's some churches that they set their camera up and it's a one shoot on the entire mass.
So they get the altar, they get the ambo.
Yeah.
That's all they need usually.
Or there's like more movement.
Right.
Single camera, but they have movement that they set up during the live stream, because it's obviously live, so it's like the audience is moving with the camera. Correct. So there's two different options in which you can do that with. Which one? I prefer the movement, but it depends on your church.
Oh, absolutely. It's way more engaging. People will stop being engaged, even if you're like, you're like we talked about in one of the episodes. If you come, you dress up, and you're like, you sit, you stand, you kneel, you say all the responses. But like, there's something about just looking at a stagnant screen with not great lighting. You start to have a disconnect with what you're watching.
Absolutely, I agree.
So when the camera is moving, is zooming, you feel like you're part of the action. You feel like you are actually there
at mass, right? Yeah.
So that's a key component. So whether you're doing that with your phone or a camera. So obviously, then when you're talking about buying a lens for a camera, although you can't get the cinematic look, that's not really what we're going for at Mass, anyways. You want to buy probably a zoom lens, so you can talk between like 28 to 70 zoom lens, or like 50 to whatever to 200, something like that. So you can zoom in right on the priest, and then you can zoom out. You can go over to the ambo. You can get a wide shot. You can get a close shot, and it's a lot more active in terms of the participation from me watching at home.
Right, and let's preface this with, we're talking a lot about the movement and the efforts put in by the person that is filming on the camera. Remember, if you're in this boat, you're the person that's doing that, to remember too that you're not making a movie. Right? You are still filming mass. So the way that I put it into perspective is, if I'm when I'm operating a camera, whether it be a camera or phone or whatever, if I'm using it, I'm the people's eyes, right? So what you have to remember when you're shooting Mass is that you're not looking to get the coolest looking shot, which is different. Say you're trying to shoot a film project or a picture even, where you're trying to like, how cool does this look? It doesn't matter. It's what do people want to see during Mass? Like where does what's going to make them feel like they're there? You know? So even if like this is an extreme case, but like even if the priest is saying the Eucharistic prayer or whatever, and you're like down low and you're coming up on him because you want it to look like this big powerful moment, who is that for? Because nobody ever is at Mass laying on the floor like, yeah, sweet, like during the Eucharistic prayer, right? Everyone's straight on. So you want to be cognizant of those stuff while you're shooting your live streams. You want people to be there, like you're their eyes.
That's spot on. I was just thinking about that because when I took the pictures, I said they were like artsy photos of the church.
Sure, I did the same thing this week. So,
and one of them was literally at the back of the church, straight on to the altar, but I had the camera on the floor, tilted up, and so you see like the pews all out of focus and it like kind of leads your eye to the altar. But like again, the only person that would be for is the toddler that's laying on the ground that's viewing the church like that during Mass.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly. As far as an artsy photo for the website, that's wonderful. But when you're like talking about filming the Mass, that shot doesn't serve the purpose of the congregation.
Exactly.
Right.
If we're talking the live stream of Mass, or even if you're filming it after the fact. Like, say you're filming on a multi-camera shoot, cutting it together and putting it on YouTube. Every single cut, that's why I struggle with the thing of like when people are like, they got like the bird's eye view of everybody, because it's like, that's great and all, but like the point of a live stream is that people that can't go to Mass want to experience Mass. So I think that we should be providing the best simulation of people being there present as we can. I think that's our duty as the live stream people. So we got to put a GoPro on our forehead. Yeah. So that's that's how I'll do it. Yeah, that's a good point. No, but you know what I mean. Like, well, so I'll play devil's advocate. Is once the congregation comes back, we're not going to have the luxury of being able to have the camera right in the middle and being able to move around. So it might have to be on the back wall from not the angle of like right in the action. Fair. Again, you'll need a bigger zoom lens. But as where we're talking right now, when the church is empty, get up in that action and make them be present like they are actually there. Right, and obviously, if you're the live streamer that's doing this, I feel like because we're kind of talking to people that are in charge of this kind of stuff or that are interested in this kind of stuff this episode, if you're that person, check with your pastor, check with your priest, check with the celebrant. That's right. Make sure that you have to remember too, as someone that is kind of taking control of this, or somebody that's involved in this in any capacity, you're a team player with your presider at that point. They can't do it without you, and you can't do it without them. But you need to make sure that your vision aligns with their vision. Precisely. And we'll get into that in a second, because we want to do a segment on preparation. Let's do preparation. I want to talk about audio because that's really important, but we're almost at 30 minutes, so we got to take a quick break. Okay. Well, we're back. Thanks for waiting, as always. Maybe that joke's not funny for you guys, but it's instantaneous. It's funny for us, and we're going to laugh every time, so we're going to keep doing it. Okay, we're going to talk about audio because audio is really, really important. Right. You could get the best cameras in the world. You could be filming on 8K cameras in like cinema quality, and you could have lighting in there. We didn't really talk about lighting. Maybe we will in a second. But anyways, the shot could be like absolutely gorgeous. But if the audio is horrible, it will feel like the jankiest low budget video ever. Yeah. And no argument. The audio on your stream is the most important part of your stream. Yes, hands down. When it comes to Mass, right? Because the problem you're going to deal with, especially if you're doing Mass in the sanctuary, in the main church, is especially right now, it's going to be empty, and you're going to get a huge open-roomed reverb sound. It's going to be giant, and if you guys don't know what reverb is, it's when the sound coming out of your voice hits a wall, hits another wall, comes back, and it swirls all around, and then it comes back to the microphone that we're listening in on. And that's great when you're there, or when you're singing Gregorian chant, or when you're listening to a choir sing, you're listening to
the priest's voice, it's good for acoustics in general to boom out to the congregation if their mic dies, which often happens. But when you're talking about a live recording into a video, you don't want that really.
And the other point on that too that that's different is usually in these churches is the people are there and the people absorb some of that sound.
That's right. Sound.
So when it's
mass,
empty, you lose that.
Mass absorbs sound. Pun intended. That's a physics mass, but mass also with congregational. Okay. Right. They absorb sound. So you'll notice if you do like sound checks in an empty church compared to sound checks with 600 people in the room, it's going to sound a lot different.
Super different.
Okay, so what do you do? How do you get good sound? So there's a lot of different ways. You don't know this. This is just for you on the podcast. I just purchased some new gear. I got a new shotgun microphone, like a professional grade. It's like this long. It's like a little tube, but it's like what you see on movie sets with like guys holding big boom things. So I just purchased one of those because I want to step up the audio game a lot more on any kind of video production that I'm doing. So whether I've been also filming a lot of individual quick reflections, kind of like we do for Danny's Tuesday Thoughts, but for my pastor, for the deacons. And I want that audio to sound great. This one deflects out any reverb that comes in, and it only gives you the source that's like that it's aimed at. So there's like high grade shotgun mics that you can get. There's X and Y like stereo mics that you've seen that. There's the mic that we've been using currently. It's the one that like goes on top of the camera. It's an external mic, but you can boom it overhead. So that's what I've actually been doing for our live masses, because you can plug those. You can get adapters that plug into even the cell phone, so that you put that right over the camera, so it's out of view and it's aimed down at them. And the closer the microphone is to the sound source, the priest's mouth as they're speaking, the less of that whole room sound you're going to get, and it's going to sound crisper. It's going to sound more of a direct sound internally. But probably the better option is to just lav them up. Get a lavalier. Have that. They already have them, I'm sure. Most churches have lavaliers.
Probably.
So there's adapters, there's little things you can plug into your phone or your camera that will like input that audio source directly into the camera, to the phone, to an application on your computer if you're running through that. So you get that direct source. Yeah.
And that can even work. I'm talking about, speaking of audio, we'll go into it a little bit. If you're doing the phone thing, we'll get into that just to because we're kind of dipping back and forth, which is fine. If you're on the phone level, I don't know specifically how we're doing it. We have a sound technician guy who at our parish, we're very blessed to have him, and we are plugged into our parish sound system into my phone.
Right. So, yeah. There should be an output from your sound system that you can run out to other things. So you take all the signals from that sound system, go out of it, and go into whatever source you want, whether it's the phone, whether it's the camera, whether it's the computer.
Yeah, so we're getting no echo because it's just anybody that speaks into the mic is just going straight into my phone.
Now, here's the one caveat to that system, because I've been listening to your live streams, and Monsignor Hernandez sounds amazing, and the readers sound amazing. You know what doesn't sound great?
Musicians.
Is the music.
They get torched.
No, you could get the greatest musician in the world, but if you put their signal directly out of the microphone into a phone, it's the least flattering sound a musician can get. The musicians crave and want and need that natural reverb or artificial reverb. So there's ways that you can combat that, but you at that point you have to run into external programs through a computer, add reverb after the fact, or get an additional mic that picks them up from the house. Like you put a mic out there or two mics in the church that are picking up that natural reverb from the church and feeding those into the phone as well, and combining the two sources together. That's a great option.
Yeah, that's actually what we're doing. Is we have two microphones that we set up behind me, just in the body of the church, that are also connected to the same mixer board that collect that sound.
Yes, good.
It's like a 6 mic production now, all going into my cell phone.
Yeah, I mean, it steps up really quickly, and it'll escalate, you know. And I've been telling my pastor, because this is only the second week this coming Sunday that we're going to be doing, or it's going to be yesterday for you listeners that we're doing our live masses. But last week it was just myself, my pastor, and a deacon there, and I I was filming, although we just set it up a stagnant shot because I was doing music as well. So I was playing guitar, but I was also like in between when I wasn't playing, I was watching the live stream to make sure that it was still on, to make sure the comments were like not, this isn't
negative.
Working, or we don't have any audio, or it's
Exactly.
flipped. So I had to make sure that those were all good, and then go up and do the psalm, and then come back, and then I had to turn it for the reading and come back and then play music. But I was like, I told him, if we keep upping the ante in terms of production, we have to get help. I can't do it all.
So okay, let's move into that. So if as long as we're good on the audio conversation.
Yeah. So again, there's plenty of ways you can do it, but don't overlook audio. Audio can be arguably more important than the video. Okay.
There's no argument. It is, especially for mass, because people need to hear
exactly
what's going on.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So here's the deal. So let's talk about personnel, because this is a very big, huge component that I didn't even realize when it comes to the mass. Okay. So when I first started doing it myself, I thought, okay, I'll be me and my pastor. That'll be enough. We'll knock it out. But like, we have to remember too that pastors have already so much other stuff that they got to do when it comes to the mass. That should be the pastor and the priest, the presider. Their sole focus at mass should be celebrating the mass. Period. Mm-hmm. You know, and so what we had to do is we then started to bring in me as the director and camera person, and then we had a lector, and that was the first couple times we did it, and it was all just my movement on my phone in our little chapel, and that was that. But then when it came to the Easter masses, that's when we started to really step our game up. So then we had a sound technician, and then I had somebody that was in charge of the stream and the comments, who was like basically deleting comments or answering comments or feeding me information if, like, say the sound is off, because people will be quick to tell you in the comments if something's wrong.
They sure will.
So you have to be kind of always watching to make sure that's going okay, and making sure that the feed and because how it looks to me when I'm putting it there may not translate to how it looks to the person at home.
And last Sunday, our feed actually stopped. We lost connection because we're still working on the Wi-Fi signal in our church. And so halfway, like right after the homily, it cut out. And luckily, we had the rear-facing camera on, so my pastor was able to see it. And he was like, I wasn't looking at it, and he had to tell me, he's like, Ryan, are we still on? And I had to look, and I was like,
nope.
I don't know. And then somebody texted me. They said, "Hey, you lost the feed." So then I looked on. I was like, "Yeah, we're off." So we had to reset it. So, but if no one was looking at it, we would have continued on, done the whole mass, and had no idea.
Exactly. So it's tough because we're trying to be social distance. So like, I'll give you my setup for instance, just because that's the only one that I really know for sure of how I'm setting it up. Is we have the presider, obviously on the altar. I have the camera. And I'm moving all over the place. Our lector is off to the side. Our musician is way in the corner, and then our kind of backup, the producer essentially is in the back, in the very back of the church, because they're just watching on a computer, so it doesn't matter. So everyone has their plenty of distance, and that's how we're set up every single time. And then what I'm currently working on is a way for me to have a headset so that I can talk to the producer in my ear.
Yes.
So that I'm not having to because we're like pantomiming and like, hey, you here?
That's exactly what St. Monica's does, because the people that are running the live stream and controlling the cameras, they're in the choir loft.
Oh boy. So you have to be able to contact people.
And so the producer the director who's directing the priest on where to go, because they're not used to this. This is new for them. Right. They're going like, step over here, wait now till the responsorial psalm, which is on video, goes, and that's done, go. But so they have to communicate via headset on what's happening and be able to coordinate.
Yes. Yeah, and that's something that I'm just now diving into, because thankfully with us going through the system, the phone's not picking up me talking because I'm not talking into a microphone.
Right.
So like when I move the camera and the camera isn't on somebody, if I need to talk to them, I can, or I'd be like, hey, you move over there, or hold on a second, or whatever it may be. So it's a whole different world that we're all kind of battling. So if you're struggling with it, or if you're new to it, you're like, mine's not really going. You're not alone in this. All of us are brand new to this.
Yeah. I will tell you one note, because you just mentioned it. If you're filming and you're still at the very, very lowest budget of just with your iPhone or your cell phone, the thing is, we are all, if you're there in the room, you're all still celebrating Mass.
Yes.
And so you want to be present, you want to be celebrating with it, but you have to be conscious about if you're going to respond and you're holding the phone like this and you go, amen, and with your spirit, it's going to be very, very loud.
When I was first doing it, if you're breathing, they can hear that too. So like,
right.
I got to the point where in terms of, we'll move slightly to the low budget end if that works for you, Ryan.
Yeah.
The low budget end of what we're doing, how I'm setting up is I have my cell phone. I have an iPhone 11 is what I shoot on.
But those are great quality.
They're great quality
camera.
My gosh. And it looks awesome. And I use Facebook Live, Parish's Facebook, and I bought a tripod that's specific for a phone. So it has like a clamp that you unscrew and put the phone on so that I'm not holding it. So I kind of move it where I need to, and then I step back so that because I still want to celebrate Mass too, and I don't want to be all up in the priest's face.
Now,
question: he already has a camera in his face.
Question for our listeners: are you going portrait mode or landscape mode? So up and down or side to side? You have to
go landscape.
Okay.
But here's the tricky thing, because
I
messed this up in I've seen a lot of places, because I've watched a ton of live streams, because you have to do research on other people to see who's doing things correctly or not, or just to pick up tricks, is if you're going to use Facebook Live, or if you're going to use any kind of camera where you have to start a live stream, because once you go live on any platform, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, whatever, when you hit that live stream button and you're live, you are locked on whatever plane you're on. The camera will not adjust. So before you start your stream, you have to make sure that you are in the view where you want it to be. So like the first mistake is I was vertical, right? And I hit record.
Oh, and then you turned it landscape.
And then I turned it landscape, and then it was sideways. And people were like, what are you doing? And it was too late. So then I was like trying to fix it. And it was awful.
So what I ran into last...
And then people were watching on their TVs at home, and it was just like the block,
and
right?
They had... Oh, yeah.
It was just the iPhone block instead of being the whole landscape screen.
So that's what I ran into last week, because I thought you told me that it needed to be portrait mode, so we did a portrait. But yeah, so when people are watching on their phone, it's fine. But when you watch it on the TV or on a computer it's
just black bars.
Yeah, black bars for the entire frame. So yeah, landscape is the way to go.
Yes, I would personally, if you're using a phone, go landscape. And the biggest thing that you need to do too with these, the most important part of all of these live streams is you gotta talk to your priest beforehand. Get on the same page. Communicate with them. Hey, I'm gonna move here and here and here. At our church, actually, what we did is I have tape on the ground of where I move, like my points.
Yeah.
So that the priests and the deacons know, don't stand there or don't go there, because that's where Danny's going to be with the camera at some point. Yeah. So I have like my points that they know, or they know where to cross and go behind. Because now when you're linked into the audio of the church mixer, like we were talking about before, I now have a cord attached to me that I have to move with me. Right.
So there's realities to this that, some purists are going to say, you're bringing all this technology in here. You're taking us out of Mass.
Let's get into that.
But I'll argue that if you don't think about these production viewpoints, you don't communicate, you don't step it up, then you're taking everybody else out of Mass, because it looks and sounds so bad, and there's no communication, and everybody's fumbling around. There's no beauty to the Mass anymore, whether you're there in the sanctuary or whether you're there 3,000 miles away watching.
Absolutely. And here's the thing is because people are like, I got one of my buddies kind of gave me tried to give me a little what for, because we were all talking about how much we were missing Mass. And he was like, well, Danny, you get to go every week. And I'm like, let me tell you, it is not the same.
It is not.
I am working and I can't focus on my prayer and everything else. Thankfully, the consecration, you put the camera there and I get on my knees and I'm in that moment. But as far as everything else goes, I'm constantly worried about the feed. Is it going to go out? Who's commenting? Where's my next move going to be? Does this look okay? Can everybody hear it? There's so many things going on in my mind to make sure that Mass is appropriate for other people that it is not. I can't wait to just go to Mass where I can just sit there and be at Mass.
Yeah.
But I lost my train of thought. I was going to say before that, but it's a huge burden to make sure that you are not impeding the celebration of your pastor. But Excuse me. That's what I was going to say. So I kind of want to touch on all those people that were saying that don't like what's going on. Because, and I know that this is not really super...
Well, I've heard certain people that say we shouldn't be filming the masses at all. And the faithful only need to receive communion once a year, and so they shouldn't. Why are they being upset about this?
Nobody should worry about it. Yeah.
Nobody should worry about it, and all they should be doing right now is praying. Just pray extra, and don't worry about it. You don't need to be connected with your community, because this is the rad trad side talking right now. They're like, you don't need to be connected with your community. There's the community thing is
doesn't matter.
Community doesn't matter. Connecting with your parish doesn't matter. Receiving communion doesn't matter unless you receive that one time per year. But all you need to do is pray. Ridiculous.
So here's my thought on it. This is what I'm thinking about right now. This has been my prayer lately. Is we read in Scripture, especially now, we're reading a lot of the Gospels are all about what the disciples are doing after Jesus had risen from the dead, right? And it's all about their mission, their calling, what are they going to do to bring the message of Christ to the rest of the world? Okay, like that's their whole point. God says, "Go out, preach the gospel to every nation." When the Holy Spirit comes, they're able to speak in languages and tongues that they never thought possible, that people can get and hear it in all kinds of different ways. Right now, the language and the way that the faithful can receive the Mass, can receive God in online content, in online rosaries, and online whatever it is, ministry that's being done is through media. It's through online live streaming. It's through video production. It's through podcasts. It's through anything like that, because people cannot gather. So in my mind, that is the language in which the gospel needs to be preached in this moment. God is calling us to go out and bring the gospel to the people and bring it to them as they will understand it. Right now, we have to do it this way, so we should be doing it the best that we can.
That's a beautiful point. And as any other language, you need to learn how to speak it clearly, articulately, eloquently, to be able to fully articulate what you want to share with your viewer. And if you're not speaking with that articulation, with that clarity, your message is going to be lost on them. So when we're talking about this language of production, learn the language as best you can.
And not only that, but okay, so here's the other point I would make. I think that it's important for the faithful and the people in the community. I love that word community that they hate so much, but that community, it needs to be those people that are kind of stepping up to do this stuff. Because imagine if a church had to bring in a film crew or bring in a bunch of people that they hired to do the live streams. Or they have no idea what Mass is. They're just there to do a job.
Right. I'll tell you right now, it's not going to happen. Churches aren't going to be able to afford to pay anybody right now. People are getting laid off. People are not going to get their jobs back. And so it's going to take the community to step up and volunteer and say, what can I do to continue?
Yes, absolutely. But my point of that is that have people that know what Mass is do this, so they can bring that level of reverence and respect, even though they're doing this particular way. If you bring in people that don't know what Mass is, or they don't care, they're just there to do a job or to film something.
Right.
You're losing the importance of the Mass.
Bring in
a production crew because guess what? My production crew, the dude that's running my comments, and my sound engineer and all this stuff, they're all receiving communion at the Mass.
You see that all the time in weddings, is when you have all the photographers and videographers there who are not Catholic, not Christian.
They have no consequence.
For one, they don't care. You can see it on their faces. They're like, this is a job. They're like, what is this weird space that I'm in right now? You see it in the guys that when they're walking back. You've seen that video where the dude's walking backwards trying to film the couple leaving the church, and then he eats it into the baptismal font because he has no awareness that there should be a baptismal font there. And I see it even in musicians that aren't Catholic. You bring them in and they're good, it's great, but they're not. You don't feel like they're a part of the service. They don't care to be there. It's just a job for them. Hey,
it's my brother, everyone.
Is that a
Hello,
wow?
podcast.
You guys remember Brendan from the podcast months ago? Yeah.
But that's exactly the point I'm trying to make, is have people that have respect for the Mass, that want to bring it to the people. Because my crew that's doing Mass, when it's time for the consecration, when it's time for the readings and all that stuff, you better believe wherever they are, I got my dude at a laptop kneeling not on a kneeler, but he's kneeling for the consecration in front of his laptop, because he knows what's going on.
Right.
That this is how we have to bring the Mass to the people of God at this moment. And anybody that's saying, "Oh, we shouldn't be doing that," and everything else, you're dead wrong.
That's right.
Period. Don't let. We're gonna make this a part 2 where I'm gonna get all fired up again.
Well, I want to have a part 2 for this because one of my roommates here, Patrick Dwyer, he's an amazing musician, but he's also a wonderful, amazing cinematographer, videographer, photographer. He has a lot of great gear. We're working on some stuff. We got some videos planned. We just have to film them. We've been super busy, but I want to get him on and like bring an expert in photography, in cinematography, and talk a little bit more technically on these details. Because there's still a lot of stuff that we haven't discussed, lighting, in terms of just setting a composition of shots. Like we talked about how to set up and move around the shot, but like, what do people like? Should I have headroom? What is headroom? Should I give people headroom? Should I be at eye level? Should I be above eye level? Below eye level? Should I be? There's a lot of technical details that people don't know about photography. What does aperture mean? What about focal length? So there's all those things that I'd like to talk about that I think we could bring the expert in. I know it's fine. The guys, this is the reality that we're living in right now.
Welcome to quarantine. Hold on a second, guys.
When you're in quarantine,
boy, I'm filming a podcast.
When you're in quarantine and you're at how and you're in your home, you guys seen those the newscasters that are filming from their house and their kids run in and stuff like that? This is where we're at.
It's all good. It's all good. But anyway, Patrick would be awesome to get him on it and get those details of the production that I don't really know. Like I said, this is all new to me. So this is more, we wanted to share this advice because here's the deal is the biggest advice we can give with all of this, we've been talking about high-level gear, we've been talking about all the different things that we've been doing to bring the mass to online. The best advice we can give is just start. You have to just be willing to do it. If a parish is like, I just don't know how I would do it, and you're like, I have the desire to help, do it. Just do it. It will grow as you progress on. But if you keep waiting for it to have the perfect gear or the perfect moment or the perfect knowledge, you're never going to start.
That's right. Like I told my pastor last week, I really want this capture card so we can film with my camera. And we looked it up and we go, it's not coming. I go, you know what? We're filming with your phone. I don't care. We're just going to start because once we start with the phone, then my pastor was like, oh my gosh, I found this link online where we can hook up external microphones to it. We're going to do that. Next week, it's going to step to the next level. But if you always wait to be perfect, you're never going to even start. You're never going to hit the ground running.
You're never going to. And because that's the thing is, I just went to my pastor and was like, hey, I'm going to film you on my phone. Let's put Mass on Facebook. And he was like, okay. And then it turned into this whole production that now we're doing.
Right.
So it starts small.
And that's what we have to look for the future. Again, we're going to have a full episode on what the future of this church is going to look like. Yeah. So let's not go dive into that too much, but we have to realize that there's going to be some sort of marrying of this social media, this digital content that everybody's doing to the old way. And it's going to be, I think, they're going to come together in perfect harmony. But we have to be able to learn that language. And this is the perfect time right now while we have the time.
Absolutely. Okay,
cool. Well, we're just about it. That's just about an hour. So yeah, let's
we'll wrap it up. Okay, so
land this plane.
So like I said, this was a very different episode for our viewers. We weren't really talking too much about the deep Catholic world or our theology or anything like that. We were just kind of talking about the things that interest us. Especially in this quarantine situation, you're probably going to get some more episodes of us just talking about different things that interest us. And, we may do an episode just on regular life, on our different interests and things that we like and how things going on in quarantine, just because that's where we are.
Yep.
So... But thank you guys for tuning in. And
if you guys have any particular questions, sorry to cut you off. If you have any particular questions on gear, we always have a full list on our YouTube page. So if you aren't following or watching our podcast on YouTube, go to YouTube. It's /RyanClouseMusic. That's where we post all the podcasts. But in the info section of every video, I have a thing at the bottom that says gear we use. And it's the cameras, it's the lighting, it's the microphones, it's the digital audio recording system. It's, you name it, it's all there. So like you can... That's the way I purchase a lot of my gear is I look at what the pros are used and I just like buy some of that stuff after looking at it. But if you have particular questions on how to do certain things, feel free to DM us on Instagram at _2 Catholic Dudes. That's where we love answering your questions, chatting with you guys. So hit us up on there and we will open a discussion about that.
Absolutely.
And then lastly, patreon.com/2catholicdudes. If you guys want to support us financially, we very, very much appreciate it. We want to continue to grow and thrive, and your support means the world to us.
Absolutely. And give us a follow on Instagram, Facebook. We don't really do anything on Twitter, but we're there. And keep connecting with us that way as we strive to continue to make the faith ever more present but strong in this digital age of quarantine.
That's right.
All right. I think that's it.
All right, guys, stay healthy, stay safe. Let's step that mass production up and let's make it happen. All right, we'll see you next week, guys. Peace.